This is Family Altar Forum 431. The Heroes. The Heroes. This is Njue Elias, and I want to welcome you to this podcast. I trust in the previous podcast, when we talked about who a hero is, was a blessing to you. In case you are listening to us for the first time, you are very much welcome, and we encourage you to subscribe so that every time we produce a new podcast, the YouTube channel will be able to notify you. And in case you would want to go backwards and listen to previous podcasts, they are right there in the YouTube. We have more than 400 podcasts covering almost every topic that you may want to listen to. We welcome you to explore and discover some vital information of the area that you would want to refer to. We would want to talk about real heroes. These are these people that are already gone, and they did exploits for our God and for the people that lived in their time. You know, in Daniel chapter 11:32, the Bible records that they that know their God shall be strong, and they shall do exploits. We need to be strong. You need to be strong. We cannot have a hero or heroine that is weak, that is not strong. Of course, there are various characteristics of heroes and heroines, and one of them is being strong and be able to have courage, be able to be faithful, being able to be consistent, being able to be committed in that which you do against all odds. I implore you to listen again to FAF 430. We gave various definitions and quotations of who heroes are or is. Allow me to refer to the last one, which we said that I have learned that heroes are those people who do what has to be done when it needs to be done, regardless of the consequences. That statement, that quote, really describes one of the characteristics of who a hero is. That is somebody who has courage, somebody that is determined, somebody that is committed to do what is required to be done, irrespective of the challenges and even consequences that may ensue. I'll repeat again, and I quote, I have learned that heroes are those people who do what has to be done when it needs to be done, regardless of the consequences. End of quote. Heroes do extraordinary works or acts faithfully, consistently, committedly, irrespective of the status quo. Heroes don't maintain status quo. Heroes are people that are willing to take the adventure, as Kendra Levin said, and we quoted that. He said that a hero is a person who says yes to the adventure of taking risk in doing what needs to be done. In the Holy Scriptures of the Bible, in the book of Hebrews chapter 11, we have more than 20 heroes of faith that are enumerated over there. We do have Abel, we do have Enoch, we do have Noah, we do have Abraham, we do have Isaac, we do have Jacob, we do have Sarah, we do have Joseph, we do have Moses, we do have Gideon, we do have Barak, we do have Samson, we do have Jephthah, we do have David, so forth and so on. Isaiah and Jeremiah are also mentioned in the ensuing. And these are the people we would want to look at. But I encourage you as a believer to read Hebrews chapter 11 for yourself. I'll just sample, but I'll leave you to read the details. Let's have the journey on. In verse 4, it was by faith that Abel obeyed God. 5, Enoch trusted God too. 7, Noah was another who trusted God. 8, Abraham trusted God. Then in 11, Sarah also had faith in God. The Bible says, these men and women of faith I have mentioned died without ever receiving all that God had promised them. But they were heroes. They died as heroes, though they were not coronated and they were not inaugurated, because time for that, as you are going to see, is yet to come. Let's go on the exploration that in verse 19, that verse 17, while God was testing him, Abraham stood trusted in God and his promises, and so he offered up his son Isaac. Isaac is mentioned there, though this is God himself sacrificing his son. Verse 19, he believed that if Isaac died, God would bring him back to life. Again, he had faith. A hero is one who has faith. And that is just about what happened. For as far as Abraham was concerned, Isaac was doomed to death, but he came back again alive. Verse 20, it was by faith that Isaac knew God would give future blessings to his sons, Jacob and Esau. You see Isaac now on his own account of a hero. 21. By faith, Jacob, when he was old and dying, blessed each of Joseph's 2 sons, Manasseh and Ephraim, as he stood and prayed, leaning on the top of his cane or walking stick. 22. And it was by faith that Joseph, you see Joseph by faith. That is another characteristic of a hero. A hero must have faith in someone or something. In this case, in his God. 23. Moses' parents had faith too. Those are the parents of Moses. They had faith. 24. It was by faith that Moses also on his own account. You can see the simulation of being heroic. There has to be faith in God and in what you are doing. I would want us to go all the way to verse 32. Well, how much more do I need to say? It would take too long to recount the stories of men and women of faith. Recount the stories of faith of Gideon. You see Gideon there. Barak. You see Samson. You see Jephthah. David. Samuel. And the Bible says, and other prophets. These people all trusted God, and as a result, won battles. Those are heroic acts. They overthrew kingdoms. Heroic acts. They ruled their people well, like David did, and received what God had promised them. They were kept from harm in den of lions like Daniel, and in a fiery furnace like Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego. Some through their faith escaped death by the sword. Some were made strong again after they had been weak and sick. Others were given great power in battle. They made whole armies turn and run away. And some women also through faith received their loved ones back again from death. That is resurrection. Some were made strong again after they had been weak or sick. And some women through faith received their loved ones from death. But some trusted God and were beaten to death, preferring to die rather than turn from God and be free like the apostles, trusting that they would rise to a better life afterwards. Verse 36. Some were laughed at, and their backs cut open and whips, and others were chained in dungeons like Jeremiah. Some died by stoning like Stephen, some by being sawn in two like Isaiah. Others were promised freedom if they would renounce their faith, then were killed with the sword. Some went about in skins of sheep and goats, wandering over deserts and mountains, hiding in dens and caves. They were hungry and sick and ill-treated, too good for this world. And these men of faith, though they trusted God, had won his approval. None of them received all that God had promised them, for God wanted them to wait, and they are still waiting, and share the even better rewards that were prepared for us, and that is the resurrection. All these died in faith, having not received all that which God had promised them, so that they, not without us, they may be rewarded. What does that mean to us? That today God is still beckoning heroes and potential heroines, and that is you and I, that you can get into this heroic list in future, as long as you have your faith and trust and confidence in God, that you are called and you must do what you must do, irrespective, regardless of consequences. And that's what we have seen, that is what made heroes in the whole of faith, in the 11th chapter of the book of Hebrews. So, my friend, my brother and sister, don't think hero making is done already. You are being waited for. I am being waited for. Let's quip like men and women and do heroic works. Maranatha.